What's up?
Nothing. Just got done walking my dog in the snow.
Oh, nice. I love the snow.
Yes.
It's one of the things I actually miss about traveling north in the winter. I love the snow. You don't get to see snow here
No, I don't imagine you do.
ever. I'm going to show you something.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, ready?
Oh, you guys aren't wearing wigs today.
No.
Oh my Lord. How beautiful
Wow.
is that? Wow.
What a view.
That is stunning. I love
Who
it.
needs snow? Who needs snow when you have a mountain?
It's hot.
I'll take that. The snow is melting here finally. It's finally above 0 Celsius. That is gorgeous. So you're sitting, so this is your office? What do you
That's my office.
work? You work and look at that view.
Yep.
I say that with zero jealousy in my voice. That is beautiful. That is so beautiful. I'm just getting Zuli vibes from our Halloween episode. Would that be applicable? Her volcano sacrifice.
It's not a volcano, but yeah.
Okay.
You can like push a kid out, like push it off the mountain like that.
Hi.
Hola.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Kristen, author of The Age of the Child.
Hi, I'm Lenora, creator of The Bitchy Bookkeeper.
Hi, I'm Isabel, founder and firebrand of the Operation Spark, and we are the 3 founding non-mothers of Childfree Girls. Now, in today's episode, we decided to take an idea, or it was more of a story that was told to us by one of our audience. Somebody in our audience sent us an email, and she told us a little bit about her life story, and we thought it would be very interesting to take that story and then bring a topic that we would like to discuss today, which is basically how deep is the desire to have a child versus how deep is the desire to not have a child, in this case, being child free. So we got an email from somebody in our audience, and she was telling us that since she was very young, she always told everyone that she didn't want to have kids, she didn't want to get married, and people kept telling her that she was going to change her mind. And she did. She changed her mind. At age 34, she actually met the person that she describes as the love of her life, and they got married 2 years later. And she really wanted to have a baby with this person. She thought this man would make a great father, and they started trying to have a baby, but then she realized that she soon realized that she couldn't have any children because she had some issues with her uterus. She had endometriosis, and it made it very difficult for her to get pregnant. Her health condition progressively got worse, and as she approached 40, they started, talking about it, and she and her husband decided to go for adoption because they thought it was going to be impossible for them to have biological children. They didn't want to go through the IVF route because they had heard it had side effects, so they decided to, go for adoption. But however, when she was 43, she decided to have a hysterectomy because her endometriosis was very advanced. And at the same time, she made the decision with her husband not to adopt at all. She tells us that she realizes that her husband was going along with it just to make her happy. And since that moment, she started learning about all the benefits of having a child-free life. And she has actually gotten to the stage now when she can say that she's actually glad and she feels lucky that she's infertile and she didn't actually wanted to be a mother in a way. Like she feels that deep down, everything that she was doing was actually from all the pressure she was receiving from the outside. So she also expresses in her email that she feels her infertility forced her and her husband to really think about the decision to want children, and that it is better if women and their partners, if these women have partners, think longer about this choice without the need of infertility to force them to think about it. So what do you girls think?
I think that she is probably not the only person to go as I mean, people have gone farther because of pressure. They have continued to do IVF, and they've probably put themselves through years of it. Like the woman we had on before, the doctor, the pediatrician, I think she was, and she didn't want kids, and she was still actively considering IVF treatments. So there are people who will do that because of that kind of pressure. She was getting family pressure also. And I really just think that's tragic. It's like, I mean, everyone says the whole IVF process or the whole trying to have a kid is just really stressful and emotional. And, because women are taught that if they don't have a baby, or if they aren't actively trying to be parents, they aren't real women, which I think probably contributes to people trying to go through with IVF if they don't want kids, or why it's such a hard process. I don't know. I'm just guessing that part of it is hard because if they go through IVF and they don't get pregnant, or if they miscarry, they suddenly feel like failures or less of a woman. And so there's all this heaping pressure on what's an already probably emotional situation. That's just a whole, like, imagine not wanting to be a doctor and your parents telling you, no, I'm sorry, this is the only thing, this is it, this is what you have to do. So then you have to go, you have to get the grades to be a doctor that you don't want to be. And then you have to go to 8 years extra of school to be the doctor you don't want to be, and study all the time and do residency and all of that for something you don't want. It's just, bleh.
I agree with you. I just realized that there's something in this email that triggers me, and this is my own issue, and I'm not wanting to say this as a projection on somebody else, but the line where it says, I wanted children with him because I thought he would make a great father. I've heard that a lot from people in my own social circle and family who, like, the women did not want to have kids, but they met and fell in love with somebody. And they've told me that line. They thought this person would make a great father. And so they had kids for that person. It's commendable. I have met and had the opportunity to have a relationship or relationships with people that would make great parents or fathers, but not to the extent where I am going to give that person a child. I guess to me, that just reinforces my need for autonomy. So I would rather say goodbye to a relationship than give someone the experience of fatherhood. And that's just me. And I'm not knocking anyone who chooses differently, but there is something about that doesn't sit well with me. And it's not a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad reason, but maybe I don't know if that's the only if that's the reason to have children.
Is it possible? Did the people who said that to you, did they not want kids before?
That's correct. They didn't want to have kids. So these are women that did not want to have children, and women that some I'm related to and some that are in my social circle, and they did not want to have kids for their own reasons. Mm-hmm. But then they fell in love with their husband because they fell in love with men, mm-hmm. and got married and had kids solely because they felt, and again, that their spouse would make a good father. And that's the only reason why they had children. And by and large, I don't know if embracing motherhood is the way to put it, but they're mothers and they have multiple children, and they've gone down that route. That's all I will say about the result of that is I know that's common, but you know what I mean? Personally, and because I have kind of been in that experience where I had to make a decision whether I pursue a relationship or not, knowing that the guy did want to have kids and I said no. So I didn't pursue that. It's for me, I think it just triggers my absolute resolve not to go down that route, because sure, someone could make a great father, but I'm not willing to give up my life and my desires to make somebody a father. So and I'm just saying that because that's how I feel. And I'm sure there's other people listening or watching who will feel the same way. So I'm just saying it because I know I'm not the only one that feels that way of not being willing to sacrifice that. But it's a conversation I have early on. So it's not like I would get married and then 10 years in, that conversation would happen before it progressed that. But so I guess maybe I want to know, I mean, Kristen, you've been married, you are married.
I have
been. Yeah. And you've been in those situations because you've been married to two other people before you who eventually did want to have children, but you weren't willing to give up your child-free status to have children. Do you mind if I ask you about that? Because I'm curious. No. Because it's something that triggers me. That line, reading that in that line does trigger me, just because I know that I would not give up my autonomy to make somebody a father, no matter how much I love them. I can say that with all certainty. So I'm curious as to the opinions of you, Isabel and Kristen, especially Kristen, because you have been married and you've been in that situation. So, what are your thoughts?
I think it's possible that what might happen with some people is that they don't want kids, and then they meet someone, and that person, when you're in the early things of love and romance and everything is seriously just unicorns and hearts and everything, there is some weird element of it that does not see the reality of a lifetime of parenthood. It just sees, oh my God, I'm so in love. And I can imagine kids playing in leaves. And I mean, it's not, parenthood isn't necessarily parenthood. It's some weird romantic idea of movies and this person and forever. And it's all kind of wrapped into one. And there's like a second where it's almost appealing. And that's happened to me. I mean, I didn't obviously do anything with it. And I think because when it became an actual conversation, it was either later in the relationship. And so I'd already, gotten out of that phase and things have gotten back to normal. I think a lot of people really need to be together long enough for that whole weird phase of drugged up, dopey love to pass, get into a daily routine, get used to each other to whatever extent, you do. And then say, do I still want kids? Is this, this is our life now. We're settled in this life. Our kids, what I really want. So it's possible that your friends had kids when they were in that really weird, everything is going to be, perfect phase. And
right.
Oh my God.
Because there are details about 2 out of the 3 relationships that I was referring to that I know it's a little more dicey, and I'm not going to say anything more to that, but the love, that stage you just mentioned is long over.
Yeah. Well, I do know someone who never wanted kids, and she had a kid because her husband really wanted them.
Right.
And she is very glad she did, but we had a conversation like years ago. She said she loves her kids, so she's happy she did that. However, it wasn't something she wanted to do on her own. It was like, and I love him so much, and this is something that's really important to him. And so do I want to get rid of this love of my life forever and not have his kid, or maybe it won't be so bad, And I think that would be a hard choice. I think if Ian decided he wanted to adopt a kid, if he said, that's it, I've made this decision, I really didn't think it was going to happen, but I want to adopt a kid, I'd be really, really in a hard place. I can't tell you what I would do. I honestly can't, because he's your person. Mine.
Yeah.
He's the love of my life.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I want to refer back to, the topic regarding the desire, how deep your desire is. And I feel that people that say, oh, I don't want to have kids, and then meet someone and they're like, I definitely see this person being my kid's father, let's have a child. Maybe their desire to remain child-free wasn't that deep, Maybe it was, at the moment, it was what worked for them. At the moment, it was, it's comfortable. And then maybe they realized, maybe this is not the way that I want to go, I think human beings, we change our minds all the time. I think it's normal. But speaking of the actual desire, because in my case specifically, I consider myself child-free to the max, as in I can meet the love of my life tomorrow, and if the guy says I want to have a child, I'll be like, bye, Felipe. like this is not working. It's not gonna work, right?
I love that. Bye, Felipe. That's so good.
Be like, no. Because I know that's what I want for me. And I don't think I believe in this. There's only one person for each one of us out there. I think that there are many people that we can actually build a life with and be happy with. I don't believe in just the one. So
Maybe for you, but that may not be true for other people.
yeah,
That's
no,
true.
that's what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
the way. That's my opinion. And also, if there was the one in my life, it would be me. I love myself.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. That's great.
Live with myself for the
So
rest
good.
of my life. No, but I mean, seriously, I don't. I wouldn't. I myself, Isabel, would not. I would not have a child for somebody who would be like, "I love you so much. Let's have a kid." And even if we're in that, in that stage of the relationship, and it actually, I mean, the last relationship I was in, the guy was child free. But at some point, we were just at the beginning of the relationship. It's everything's unicorns and flowers and roses and hearts. And at some point, he said to me, if you got pregnant, I have my tubes tied. We're being careful, the whole thing, right? But he said, let's say, imagine you get pregnant. What would you do? And I was like, abort. Like, there's absolutely no question about it. And he was like, oh no, but we love each other so much. Maybe we should, like, if that happens, maybe we should
No.
like think about it. And we were in that phase of the relationship. And I was like, dude, there's nothing to think about. I'm telling you now, because for me, it's more important to continue living my life, like Lenora was saying, the autonomy, that independence, that I can do whatever I want, and nothing, like, there's no little kid running around ruling my life or my time or my sleep, or I'm not sacrificing that for anyone.
I just want to make a point of clarification, which is that if he decided he really wanted kids and wanted to birth a child, that would be a no matter what. Just say.
Okay.
Who are you referring to? Ian?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just all right.
Yeah, like for some reason the adopting thing would be something I'd consider more than, I just wouldn't consider ever having a child.
Yeah, I have said in the past, and this is something that actually somebody raised. They sent us a comment about this in one of our videos that we did earlier. I did say that if my sister had children, she doesn't have children, but if she had any, and then something happened to her and kid's father, and like there was nobody else who would take the children, I would take them eventually. But the only reason I would do that, I think, first of all, I love my sister, so I would do it because of the love I have for her. But also, I would never, ever let those kids or that child, if the kid of the child or the child ever exists, never would let them go into the system and into the foster care system. That's not a fucking option. So if there's nobody else who can't take care of them, and I know that they're going to be safe and taken care of and loved, and I would do it. That would be like the only situation. So this is the thing now. We know that we are like deeply child free, and we have that desire of not ever birthing a child. And, there are some situations that we might consider eventually, if very remotely, something that could, very strange could happen.
I hate even putting that out into the universe, to be honest. It makes me very uncomfortable.
Lenora's that I meant, Kristen and I, we just kind of like put that something out there, but we're like,
My case would never happen. My sister doesn't have kids, so I'm all in the clear.
My oldest
nephew. I
nephew.
don't want to adopt.
My oldest nephew's like over 18.
No, he won't want to. I'm just saying if the worst happened.
Exactly. If that's a big if. Same on my side. My sister doesn't have any children. If
Okay.
we don't know.
I'm the only aunt here with 2 underage nephews. I'm like, 3 more years.
Why do you girls think that people are like, oh, this woman, whomever, she really wants to have children, the poor thing, she's gone through whatever rounds of IVF, she and her husband have been trying for so and so many years, and they kind of like see this person as a martyr in a way. It's strange, right? She's like, oh yeah, and then they're like, pray for her. She wants children. But people who are child free, like us, none of that's happening. Like,
No, they'll wish a kid on you.
they wish exactly. Why do you think instead of wishing kids on us, they would be like, I hope you never, ever get pregnant? That would be like my dream. So what's up?
Well, they know that not having children actually makes us happy, or that we're not makes us happy, but it's a happy element to us. So they would want to see the reverse, which is why they would say, oh, I hope you get pregnant by accident, or, wish something like that. Whereas someone who is desperately wanting a child, well, see, okay, this is not really answering your question, but now that I think about it, they wouldn't say out of spite, oh, I hope you never get a kid.
No, never.
But yeah, they would purposely say something with malicious intent, like, oh, I hope you get pregnant, to people that have chosen not to have children. They need therapy. Like, really. I know that doesn't answer your question. It just occurred to me that they wouldn't do the reverse to someone who can't have kids. They wouldn't, you might have to re-say your question again.
Well, I think they just don't understand. It's so ingrained, I think, in people that everybody wants kids, that it's like the one thing, it's not even, nothing rivals it. It's not like a house, a car, maybe a partner, but people don't have the same amount of overwhelming, gushing pity for people who are looking for love and can't find it. Like the people who really want it, and I understand that longing as much as I can understand someone's longing for a kid. It's just something you feel like you really want in your life. But if you don't have a partner, they might be like, oh, poor single, but they don't really care. But as soon as someone can't have a child, there are books about it, movies about it. Everyone's like, oh no, she can't have a child. It's the worst thing in the world. It's awful. It's tragic. So they care about that reproductive status very much. And there's no flip side. Like, they don't understand that the desire, like the true desire to not have a kid, we're only comparing it with the true desire to have one, not the compulsion or the pressure. But they cannot comprehend. I just think they don't have the capacity to understand that not wanting a kid is just as strong, because you're still thinking about the rest of your life and what you want for the rest of your life and what you want to fill every hour, what you don't want to fill every hour and every minute of your day. They just don't, they can't understand that for someone who doesn't want a kid, to get pregnant, let's say you live somewhere where you have no access to abortion. There's just no way. If you get pregnant, you are having that child. They can't even conceive of how damaging that would be to someone's emotional and psychological state or the rest of their life. I mean, they're fucked.
Do you think it's such a big issue because children are such a permanent thing? And I mean, like, obviously not the child, is the whole life, whether it's a baby, teenager, it's still your kid, no matter how old it is. I think
it is fine if you don't know the sex.
Whatever. Yeah. Okay. I always refer to it as an it, but because it's such a permanent fixture in your life. You mentioned, someone saying, oh, too bad you don't have a partner. You can get a partner. You can settle for a partner. You can get divorced. I mean, relationships are not permanent. People die. I mean,
I didn't say partner. I said love.
Love. Okay. Still,
like a good, strong love, like what I have with Ian.
Okay, well, that like Isabel and I have with ourselves.
Exactly. Hey, I love myself too. Don't assume that.
Our love is, oh, okay, God, I'm not going down that road. That all just came out wrong, just in my head.
I don't want to know about your self-love.
No, I was just going to compare. I was going to compare the love that Isabel and I have for ourselves versus the love you have for Ian, but that's just mean and nonsensical. So I'm not even going to go down that road. No, I was just trying to think. Okay, so if you're talking about love versus relationships, I know those are different. It just seems like when you bring in, it's not. I wonder if it's not the same intensity, intense feelings. People are more are ready to accept someone's singledom versus child freedom, because having a child is it's permanent. Even if your child passes away, you are still a mother, you are still a father, you still had a child. Like, it's the presence, the essence of parenthood or whatever, it's still there, and there's, what else is more permanent than that? So that is something, I could see where it's hard for someone to wrap their head around. And yet for me, it's hard for me to wrap my head around. It's like, why would you want that? I see more people just accidentally stumble across parenthood. So I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but it just seems because children are permanent.
I can see them. I can see them having compassion for someone who can't have a kid. I totally get it. If you really want a kid and you can't have one, I do feel bad for you. I think it's awful. I think it's tragic. I think it's a very sad thing for you. I just want people to also respect that it's a very deeply felt desire to not have kids.
It is.
And to recognize the power of that feeling, and to understand that saying, oh, I hope you get pregnant, is not a funny thing.
That's true. I mean, think about, okay, what Isabel says, like her decision is definite. My decision is definite as well. That desire is so deep that I would be willing to sacrifice a relationship if it meant me having to say goodbye to someone because they wanted children and I didn't. And Isabel, I'm going to say the same thing for you. And Kristen,
I just don't know.
But 90%. I mean, with your husband, that would be a hard call. Anyone else?
I wouldn't be with him if I thought there was ever a chance of him wanting kids.
Right.
So.
But that's the thing. We've looked into that before getting into relationships, or that's a big component of developing relationships for the three of us, is that that's a big thing. We're not wishy-washy about it. You're not looking for partners or considering a partnership with someone who is on, like, really on the fence or leaning towards parenthood. It's important to us to remain child free, that we are looking at that before you get to the really lovey-dovey stage. So, and that comes from a strong desire, because for me, that there's that desire to remain child free. I didn't know how to word it till years ago, but the desire just to be free, live a free life, have my autonomy. I've had that desire since I was 8. So that's 30 years. I'm 38 now. It's in you. It's in you.
Yeah, I agree with you that, that thing that burns inside of people, wanting to be free. And then that kind of like brings the choice, not for everyone. I'm not saying this happens to everyone, but most childfree people have that same desire, And, to my own question, I was just thinking, it's just funny how we have been all so conditioned to think that a baby is a miracle and that a baby is a blessing. I think miracles, that's not the definition of miracle, but still people call them miracles, right? And I think because everyone, there's like this collective consciousness of babies are good. They come and they fix relationships. They come and bring joy and whatever else children are supposed to bring with them, which is, I feel a lot of pressure for a tiny baby as well. So when you say, I don't want them, it's like, I think some people are like, they feel you're kind of like blocking all of that out of your life, like negating all that happiness and all that hope and all that joy and everything that comes with a baby. But for me, it's not like either or. It's not babies bring all of this, this is what people think. Therefore, if I don't have a baby, then my life is not going to have any hope or happiness or joy or any of that. I don't think that many people think about it this way. I don't think that many people see other sources around them to bring them all of that they believe only a baby can bring. So when people wish, and I've been told, I hope your, birth control fails. That was before I got my tubes tied. And I was like, you're wishing an abortion on me.
Yeah.
That's not fucking cool, because I don't want to have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I also feel it's also maybe people projecting their desires on you. Sometimes it's women who, unfortunately, can't have kids and they want to have children. But this is the thing, they want to have biological children.
Mm.
Not foster, not adopt. They want to have their own kids, biological, own DNA, the whole thing, and they can't because they have infertility issues. And I feel that I have seen comments and I have heard comments of women who are childless who want children saying that we have a functioning uterus.
Hey, I have a uterus. Mine functions. It's holding my IUD. It's serving its purpose.
And we don't use it. So, and I feel that's a little bit unfair. It's a lot unfair because it's my own life. I mean, you want your child, there's many ways to parent. I feel for you in the sense that I support women who, if you really want to have a kid, well, hopefully you'll be able to have one. But if that's not my case, then and you don't project your shit on me. That's what I feel. That's how I feel about that.
Like say you have $10,000 and I have $50, and you have this $10,000 and you're not using it to go to my favorite vacation spot. God, you have $10,000. Why aren't you going to Tahiti? If I had $10,000, I would go to Tahiti. You should go to Tahiti. It makes that much sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's basically just saying I want to be you, or I want to have your pot of whatever it is, whether it's a pot that can hold a baby or a pot of money or whatever. Still, it is a weird thing to say, well, your uterus works, why don't you have a baby?
There's two things that again stand out in that email. Just want to mention quickly. One where she says that it turns out her husband was just going along with their plans, looking into adoption just to make her happy. Again, we've talked about the importance of communicating with your significant other, or at some point early in the relationship, what's your stance on having kids, or even, I guess, even at this point, it would be communicating throughout the process is like, is this what we want? Is that what you want? And then realizing, oh, neither of us want that. It's unfortunate that this topic of children, whether it's adopting, IVF, not having them biologically, it's such, there's so much stigma around it that no one feels comfortable within their own relationship to bring it up until you were forced. So I guess all I want to say to that is it's unfortunate that it has to come down to it, like Isabel, you had mentioned at the beginning of the episode. And hopefully that we get to a point in society where these conversations can be had in private between couples and, or in a dating situation before it progresses to that, just to save heartbreak and time. The other thing I wanted to comment on was the fact that she said she felt lonely without children, and then talking to parents, who obviously had kids, and feeling left. She felt left out of those conversations, and rightly so. I get it. I mean, I stopped going to my friend's kid's birthday because it was, when my youngest nephew was little, I'd take him a couple times. I just got bored. So I stopped going. But it's also like, what are you talking about? I'm usually talking to the guys who are talking about business, because the women are all talking about the children, and I'm not having that conversation. So I just stopped attending, and that was pre-COVID, obviously. So, there's that. I guess, like, the three of us are very highly creative and we have so many things going on that loneliness, I don't know. To me, I never think about being lonely because I never feel lonely. There's so much that consumes in my creativity and time, and I don't anticipate that winding down with age. People throw out the comments, oh yeah, well, you're in your 30s and 40s now, wait till you're 70 and 80 and you're sitting alone in a old folks home, which doesn't sound bad, but that's not how I envision my elder years, right? And I think, people still keep looking at what used to happen and what currently exists with the generations that are 80 and 90, but we see so many examples around us of people in those age categories who are still living life like that, are more active than I am. So, I don't, loneliness doesn't enter it's not like you never feel lonely, but it's not a regular occurrence for me.
I just have two quick points on those two things you said. Going backward, it may be, I think we've all established that we're introverts.
True. Yes.
You might not be an introvert. She might crave the company of others,
That's
and
true.
everyone around her has kids. Shoot, what did you say before that? What was the first part?
Her husband going along with it just to make her happy. So
Yes.
communication
Yeah,
in
you were
couples.
talking about people not talking in relationships. I agree with you that I hope we reach the point where not wanting kids is not so stigmatized that people feel comfortable talking about it. But also, if you're going to spend the rest of your lives together and even consider having children, you better be able to talk about it. Otherwise, you're not as close as you need to be to spend the rest of your lives together.
True. Very true.
Because everyone's going to expect you to get pregnant after you get married, right? So we were having this conversation in our chat the other day about you get a boyfriend, then everyone starts asking, when are you going to get married? And then when you get married, everyone starts asking, when are you going to get pregnant? And this is something that definitely needs to be discussed. The earliest, the better with any potential partner, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, and this is something that happened to her, I don't know. I don't think she said on the email when did it happen that she changed her mind? Like she never wanted children, and at some point she was like, and my mind was changed. But what if you're in a relationship after telling someone you don't want children, and they're like, okay, cool, I don't want to have children either, or the opposite. And then in the relationship with this person, one of them changes their mind.
Well, that happened to Kristen. Kristen has experience.
No, because Kristen didn't want to have children.
He didn't. He changed his mind. Well, he didn't change his mind. He just suddenly sprung on me that he wanted them, and he had assumed I would change my mind. So he was okay with it at first, and then he wasn't because I didn't come around. What you do in that case is you leave.
Oh, it's good.
I mean,
yeah.
Unless you change your mind. I mean, unless you decide, well, and it's completely up to you. People do change their mind, but I think if you really don't want kids in the depth of your soul, and if the person isn't necessarily the right one for you, if you have a feeling maybe you're going to get divorced someday and you don't want to have them in your life for the whole rest of your life because you have this kid now, and then you're going to have to deal with custody issues, and you can never move, you can never go anywhere because you have a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all like, no, I don't want you moving out of state because then I can't visit. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, and then who's going to take care of it? I mean, I don't know if I could be the kind of person who would shove custody off. I just don't think I could live with myself. And I don't know if I would want that person to take care. It just would all be very complicated. So if you don't want kids, you just break up. There's no compromising, as we've said so many times. You either have a child or you don't, period.
And I love the points that you bring up. I'm a paperwork girl. People don't understand. I don't think people realize how much paperwork there is involved having children. You have to register with them with the government. Like you said, you can't just take them out of country if you want to go on vacation. If the parents are split up, you have to have paperwork that says approval. I mean, you look at any celebrity custody battle, and if they're cross-continental or whatnot, see, it pays to look at celebrity news. Sometimes you find out all this information. But there's ugly custody battles because, and parents living in different countries and who lives where, and then that drains your resources. I mean, I know this is very, very negative speak, and it's not that we're talking anyone out of having children. It's just, think about it. There's a lot to consider. And then, yeah, your partner, who are you with 20 years, like realistically speaking, I guess this is more a warning if someone's watching this or listening to this thinking that they'll have a kid to fix their relationship or keep someone to stay. That's what I worry about. And I'm really at this point not concerned for you. I'm concerned for the kid because I hated being a kid, and I didn't come from a bad house or anything. I just don't want to wish childhood on too many people. And I wasn't abused. There was religious issues and I had issues with my parents, but I did not have an ugly childhood the way some people have ugly, brutal childhoods. I didn't come from that. And I still did not enjoy being a child. So consider your hypothetical kid. What kind of life do you want for them? So
always consider that.
Yeah.
That should always be your first consideration.
Exactly. Yes.
I feel it would be a lot easier if it was the opposite, meaning you want a child and then you find this person and you love this person and you assume they want to have a kid. You don't have the conversation, and this person, or they tell you, okay, fine. And at some point that person is like, you know what? I don't think I want a kid. Like, I don't want a kid. And I feel that would be, for the person who wants a child, how deep does your desire to have a kid would have to be for you to like split up from that person. And we had a guest, we had Jackie come here and talk to us about what it was to want a child, got married to the love of her life. He was like, no kids, no kids. And she eventually was like, okay, fine, I choose you. And that's not the first time I hear about that story. So, and I feel that that is a lot less damaging to the universe in general, because you're not bringing a child into this world that you didn't want to, you know, if you were child free and then you don't want them and then you get pressured and then you bring a child, it's like, poor kid.
Yeah.
In this case, it's like kid's non-existent. So you can live your life with her.
And it's not to say that the person that didn't want the child would be horrible to the child. I mean, you know, more often than not, they love the kid. It's just, there is that underlying, you know, I think to myself personally, it would be there's this underlying resentment. Like, why did I go through this? It's not, I think a lot of times it has nothing to do with, like, love isn't a question. Yes, you would want the best for that child, but you have to honor yourself and how you feel. And, you know, I learned this talking with my brother about his experiences, that you put your feelings and needs last, and that does damage you, whether health or your soul or, you know, your mindset. Like, it, there is damage that is done when you do that. So you do have to consider your own feelings, and you are the only person that's going to be living with yourself forever. As long as you're alive, you are stuck with you. So you may as well consider your own feelings and consider your, you know, what you want.
That's another thing too. If you do feel like you want to have kids, or that you should have kids because everyone around you is having them and you don't want to be left out, that might work for when you get together socially and have similarities that make you feel comfortable. But every day and every night, it's you taking care of those kids. It's you living that life of 24/7 parenthood. I guess it would have to be really, really be worth it to not have a moment, you know, like even just a little bit of awkwardness with people who have kids. I mean, you can find common ground, because sure, a lot of them even will talk about how they're tired of always talking about kids. They want to have an adult conversation. They want to do something unrelated to mommydom and housewifery or whatever it is, you know. So maybe give a little bit of loneliness a chance and kind of try to overcome that before. And I'm not talking specifically to the person who emailed us, but to anybody who thinks, well, I need to have kids because all my friends are having kids. Just give it a chance, not having them, see how it goes. And if it's a compulsion you simply cannot deny, then, I mean, you're going to do what you do, I guess.
That is all for today's episode. We hope that you enjoyed watching us on YouTube or listening to us in our podcast. You can send us any comment that you have, any question, anything at all that you want to tell us. Our email is childfreegirls@gmail.com, and our website is childfreegirls.com.
Of course, you can find us all over social media. We are at Childfree Girls on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We are on Clubhouse, but not as Childfree Girls. You have to find us individually, but we are on Clubhouse. It's amazing. We are also on Amazon. Our book, which is available in paperback and on Kindle, Childfree Girls, Comfort Food for Thought.
And our question for this episode is, are you someone, because we're seeing a lot more people like this, I think, who are listening to our series, which I think is fantastic. Are you someone who either thought you wanted kids and then ended up not wanting kids, or maybe you didn't want kids and then you sort of thought you did, but then you didn't? In other words, I guess, are you one of those teeter-tottering sort of childless, child-free people? And if so, what has brought you from one position to the other? Like, what was it that persuaded you to either make a choice, or what's making you have a hard time deciding? Would be really interested to know. You can send us your answer at our email address. You can put it below. If you want to keep it private, email us, that's fine. But I think it would be a really interesting conversation for other people to engage in. So if you would like to share it publicly, we'd really appreciate it. And so do it down there.
And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Even if you're not watching this and you're listening to us on the podcast, you can go to our YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button. That would really help us out. And be sure to rate and review our podcast wherever you're listening to it, because that helps us spread the child-free conversation. Thanks.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. No, you say bye.
No, you say bye.
Oh my God, I'm leaving.
Uh,
You leave first.
I'm going.
Bye.
Bye.